Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Monday, April 25th. Let me just change that edition of studentloanjustice.org. My name is Alan Collins, founder of Student Loan Justice. Glad you found us. What took you so long? We are the oldest, largest, and in many ways only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. So tell everyone you know about this group. If you know 5 people with student loans, 4 of them were screwed on their loans even before the pandemic. They need to be here helping us fight. It's a critical time, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of announcements. First of all, like us on Twitter. It's helpful. Most of the stuff we do is on Facebook. It's true, but Twitter is frankly a little bit, in fact, a lot more effective for reaching politicians. And we are pushing a bill right now, S-2598. This bill will return bankruptcy protections to federal student loans. It's a very important bill, S-2598. If you forget everything that I say tonight, remember this. Go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, and do at least a month worth of our daily actions. It's mostly Twitter stuff, by the way, but it helps. It helps a lot. And if you're watching us on Twitter or on Facebook, by the way, throw out your comments, questions, comments. I'm happy to entertain all and any. Particularly the tough questions, by the way. I love the tough questions. And on that note, in the past 3 weeks, we've been featured on Fox News, in the past month on Fox News twice, News Nation, a gaggle of local television news programs, a gaggle of radio shows, including a really good one in Denver I hope you'll listen to. It's the Ross Kaminsky Show. So if you go to rosskaminsky.com, you can see the interview for yourself. We like to go into the lion's den, ladies and gentlemen. That's where this problem is solved. We have a nuclear strength argument, and people are trying very hard to pick it apart, by the way, and that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. But our argument is so strong. We've been sharpening this sword forever, and it is just a diamond sharp razor's edge at this point. Like I could just look at it and would cut you and stuff. It's like that strong. So we love going in the lion's den. We love answering all the tough questions because this lending system is finished. It's toast. It's beyond saving. It should not be saved. The loans should be canceled. But the most important policy point I'm going to make to you tonight is that all the stuff that you want to see with your own student loans, maybe you want full and total cancellation, as we are calling for. Maybe you want a negotiated settlement. Maybe your loans cannot be canceled by the president administratively, and you need some just fair break. Well, no matter what you want for your student loans, all of that will only happen when we, the people, get the threat of bankruptcy returned to student loans. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. I get that. It's a very terrible thing. And it's a very tough thing to fight for, I might add, having done this for 17 long years now. But ladies and gentlemen, the founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution. And we have seen the student loan swamp foist again and again these fake loan cancellation gimmicks on us as a cheap stand-in for the uniform bankruptcy rights that the founders called for in the Constitution ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army. So no matter what your own personal thoughts are about bankruptcy, we have got to fight for that right. The leverage that bankruptcy provides us, as it exists for all other borrowers, for all other kinds of loans. So this is really a no-brainer when you think about it, guys, but we've got to fight. It's been far harder than I ever imagined it would be to get this very basic right returned to us. And only with the leverage of bankruptcy back on our side are we going to see any kind of meaningful loan cancellation from President Biden. They will screw us. Up to $50,000 is probably the best we can get in the current political climate. And up to are weasel words. Up to could mean anything. And if the swamp has its way, as long as the threat of bankruptcy remains gone, It will mean almost nothing for almost everyone. We can't let ourselves be tricked like that again. So tonight, I want to talk about student loan lies and the liars who tell them. There are a lot of student loan lies going out amongst the zeitgeist right now in the popular press, especially the financial media. And quite frankly, it is disgusting. Hey, Dwayne Gresham's here with us tonight. Hey, Dwayne. And so let's start with the first big lie. The first most vicious, terrible lie that's being told right now is that canceling student loans is regressive. It will mostly benefit wealthy people or affluent people. Now, first of all, let me just say, everyone that gets a student loan is by definition not wealthy. That's the whole thing about the FAFSA thing. You have to demonstrate financial need. You have to be financially needy in order to get a federal student loan. Wealthy people do not get student loans, period. But more to the point, here's what our critics are saying right now, our opposition, people like Adam Mooney at the Brookings Institution, which I used to think was kind of an unbiased think tank. It is not. It is not unbiased. It is, frankly, corrupted, I suspect, by the Treasury Department. So Adam Mooney says that the highest 20% income bracket, people earning over $100,000 a year, hold 30% of student loan debt. Therefore, canceling student loans will mostly benefit the wealthy, he says, or unduly benefit the wealthy. Student loan cancellation is regressive. It will help rich people far more than it helps poor people. First of all, and this is a new angle of attack for us. I just got around to actually looking at his study closely this morning, and I realized that Adam Mooney is relying on Federal Reserve voluntary survey data to come up with that rich people, or top 20% income earners hold 30% of the debt. That is a dicey, dubious data source. Now think about this. And it was a very small sample. And in fact, in Adam Mooney's own words, I'm going to quote for you Adam Mooney's own words about his data source. Let me see if I can find it here. The sample is too small, Adam Mooney says. 30% of aggregate student debt is missing and not accounted for. The value of the debt is frequently missing and statistically imputed. Those are Adam Mooney's words about the data that he used. Now, in all fairness, the sample being too small, he says, that was in relation to being able to say anything about how the debt affects minority people. But nonetheless, not even counting that, he says 30% of aggregate student loan debt is missing and not accounted for. And they had to statistically impute data because, according to their voluntary survey, a lot of times the data was not even filled in. So basically, they had to guess. So here's another thing you need to think about. Think closely about this. Okay, if you're a distressed student loan borrower, let's say you're in default, you're in way over your head, your loans are not going well. Maybe you don't earn much money. You probably tend to not earn much money, and your loans are blown up on you. You're in big trouble, etc. You get a call from someone saying they work for the Federal Reserve, which is that the government? Is it? I think that's the government. I don't know. And they want to ask you about your student loan debt. Are you going to be like, yeah, I'd love to talk to you about my student loan debt? I don't think so. I think a lot of distressed student loan borrowers don't even tell their student loan problems to their wives and their husbands and their moms and dads, friends and family, brothers and sisters, etc. I think it's a very private matter, particularly for distressed student loan borrowers. So by the very nature of this Federal Reserve voluntary survey, the data is going to skew far more towards people who are financially stable and don't have anything necessarily to hide or to be ashamed of about their financial situations. So that from the get-go makes any claim about the highest 20% income earners holding 30% of the debt extremely suspicious. In fact, if it was my study, I wouldn't even go any further. I wouldn't make any claims. I wouldn't make any strong claims, much less, publish it with the Brookings Institution and watch it go viral all over the country and try and defend that claim. That's dishonest. That's intellectually dishonest and unethical. So that's point number one. I think he's wrong. I think his data is nonsense. But point number two, even assuming that his data is not nonsense, even assuming that the highest 20% income earners, $100,000 or more, actually do hold 30% of the debt, I think it may even be like half of that amount, by the way, is my own guess. I mean, you can make your own guess, but that's my guess. Even if that were true, by that very same claim, it is also true to say that the bottom 80% income earners hold 70% of the debt. So this is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. This is simply pointing to the fact that canceling student loans will largely benefit the bottom 80% of earners, aka the unwealthy. So that's just stupid. But let me go a little further. What I have seen on our group is that the highest balance and also highest earning borrowers, and by the way, Adam Mooney, he likes to talk about these newly minted doctors and lawyers that are running around with $100,000 student loan debt. No, that's nonsense. By far and away, and statistically this is true, the highest balance borrowers are older people, like over the age of 35. And that is absolutely true. In fact, people over the age of 50 outnumber people under the age of 25 with student loan debt. And on average, they owe 300% more than the under 25 crowd. And this is despite having borrowed far less, typically, many, many years, decades ago. So the highest earning borrowers, the $100,000 up club, yeah, they probably also typically tend to be older people. Like one of the people in our group, I use her example all the time, just because it's handy. V, she borrowed $26,000 decades ago in the 80s and 90s. She now she has repaid $93,000 on this $26,000 loan. She still owes $132,000 on this viciously ridiculous, hyperinflated loan from which all bankruptcy protections and statutes of limitations have been removed. They have her over a barrel. Does she make over $100,000 a year now? Yeah, she basically, after her whole career, finally, she's still working. She's 59 years old. She finally makes a bit over $100,000 a year. Now, is she rich? Is she wealthy? Is she affluent? I don't think so. She needs to save for retirement at this point. She's pushing 60, and these loans will suck every extra nickel out of her. So, shame on Adam Mooney. Quite frankly, he should retract that article. That data is so dicey in the first place. And him going out of the way to try and paint the picture of these young doctors and lawyers who are taking all the student loan debt, which is exactly probably the opposite of the truth. As a matter of fact, those young doctors and lawyers that Adam likes to point to, those people tend to refinance their loans out of the federal program. So they go and take their loans to SoFi and get a lower interest rate or whatever benefits SoFi offers. So that is just a lie. It's a lie, guys. And the lie is spreading around the country quicker than we can put our pants on in the morning. So It would, and by the way, nobody is going to know this stuff unless we tell them. Final point on this. Let's look at PPP loans. Okay, talk about the highest 20% income bracket. A recent MIT study found, and I assume it's fairly good data. I don't know, but a recent MIT study found that the highest 20% income earners hold 75% of PPP loans. Like student loans, PPP loans were made by the government. Unlike student loans, PPP loans will be canceled. And also, unlike student loans, that whole PPP loan thing, the giving of the loans, that whole stimulus package required money to be drawn from the Treasury. $1 trillion had to be added to the national debt. $1 trillion roughly had to be taken from the Treasury. Canceling federal student loans, however, requires zero from the Treasury. It requires zero to be added to the national debt. And by the way, that's another lie that people are telling. There's another lie going out there saying, oh, canceling student loans is going to add to the national debt. No, that's nonsense. By the definition of canceling, the student loans were funded by the taxpayer many years ago. They paid for the loans many years ago. All the raising to the national debt that was ever going to happen happened years ago. And it wasn't $1.6 trillion, by the way. It was a tiny fraction of that. And by the way, the federal government has made, starting in like 2010 or 11, $50+ billion a year in profit on this lending scam. And it is a scam. So compared to PPP loans, canceling student loans is a no-brainer. You want to stimulate the economy? The first thing that President Trump should have done was cancel all these federal student loans. That's what he should have done. Biggest mistake of Donald Trump's presidency. Okay, guys, I'm guessing that there's some comments out there. I'm sorry if I've been lagging on getting to them. So that's just one of probably 36 lies that I could tell you. Ed McKinley's here with us tonight. Ed says, the lying liars who tell the lies. That's right. I was actually stealing from a comedian / former senator from the state of Minnesota, Al Franken. He wrote a book called that. By the way, so you know, we are a fiercely nonpartisan group. We pretty much hate the Republicans as much as the Democrats. We actually hate the Republicans a little more than the Democrats, if I'm being honest. But we don't really like either party. They have found a way to perpetuate this huge, viciously predatory, and unconstitutional lending scam on us, the citizens, for decades now. And they have found a way to shove us down into the partisan divide. It's kind of a white hat, black hat thing. Like the Democrats pretend to have the white hat on. President Biden, I will eliminate your student loan debt if you vote for me. The Republicans kind of wear the black hat. No. But guys, don't fall for it. It's a trick. The whole thing's always been a trick. The Democrats and the Republicans are both, for whatever reasons, hugely beholden to this lending scam. You know, even Elizabeth Warren, and I'm thrilled that Elizabeth Warren embraced the concept that we first unleashed into the zeitgeist, by the way, in March 2020, calling for the executive or administrative cancellation of student loan debt. We're thrilled that Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer embraced that concept and trotted out and sort of went, I mean, they were the people who legitimized the concept, although it was always a legitimate concept going back to 1958 with a public law that became the Higher Education Act in 1965. But even Elizabeth Warren is faking it, ladies and gentlemen. Up to $50,000 is nonsense. It's nonsense. Those are weasel words. Joe Biden could come out tomorrow and say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to cancel up to $50,000 of student loan debt. And the band will cheer and the parade will happen and the confetti and the ticker tape and all that stuff, the band, all that, champagne, cork popping, all that. And at the end of the day, you get $3,000, you get $15,000, congratulations. You get nothing because you earn too much. You get $4,500. You get nothing because you didn't fill out your form right. That's what that's going to be, because that's the way the system works. The Department of Education has abandoned all pretense of actually fighting for us, the borrowers, decades ago. They've never had it. They've always been a terrible, institutionally corrupted agency. And they have no desire and no intentions of canceling any loans unless a gun is put to their head. And that gun, ladies and gentlemen, is the threat of bankruptcy. It's the one thing that the Department of Education and its contractors have fought tooth and nail behind the scenes to keep gone from student loans. So if you forget everything that I say tonight, remember this. The key to this whole thing, like it or not, is bankruptcy. And the key to this whole thing, like it or not, is S2598. If we don't get S2598 passed, I don't know, guys. All bets are off. I don't know what to tell you. So, hey, Terry Dodd, Benji and Rue, Dwayne Gresham are with us here tonight. I think it will be passed, by the way, but this stuff does not happen in a vacuum, ladies and gentlemen. We wouldn't have a bill to fight for, but for this group. We probably wouldn't be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order, but for this group in our petition that we started in March 2020. And I would even say a very seminal article we did in Vice News in August 2019. But yeah, guys, this stuff does not happen in a vacuum. What you do matters. In fact, what you do means everything. And if you sit there and eat popcorn and wait and watch and worry and read Forbes magazine, another group of shameless liars, I would love to go into that if anybody's interested. I'd love to tell the story there. But that's what the bad guys want. They want you demoralized. They want you discouraged. They want you whimpering around with your tail in between your legs, reading Forbes magazine, hoping, praying, and prayer's great, guys. But guys, I'm telling you, what will solve this problem is effort, your effort, because this is your battle. You have to fight. When has anybody won anything without fighting for it? I don't know. Maybe some rich people do when they inherit money or something. I don't know. But in my experience, certainly in politics, nothing good has ever happened unless the people fought for it. And that is true here today. And we are very close. We've never been closer. We've got a great bill in the Senate, S2598, which I just said. It's a bipartisan bill. The Republicans are actually supporting this. Two key Republicans, John Cornyn and Josh Hawley, are actually supporting this bill. So again, if you forget everything, my one action item to you is go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, and do at least a month worth of our daily actions. It's the strongest thing you can do. And if you don't do it, then you're a dick. If you don't do it, you're a dick, and shame on you. And frankly, I wish you'd get out of our group. This is not a watch it happen proposition here, guys. This is a make it happen movement. I am an accidental activist. You are an accidental activist. Sorry about that. That's the reality. These are your loans. This is your problem. We as a group are nothing except the people in our little club here. We don't have any kind of funding. We don't have a marketing department. We don't have a staff, any of that. All we have are people. And this battle is just extremely easily won when everybody on the group, and we've got like 1.2 or 3 million people now, when everybody on the group spends a little bit of time, probably every day, doing a little tiny bit of effort, then we will overwhelm every switchboard in Washington, D.C. We will overwhelm every Twitter account in the Twitter sphere. We will overwhelm all the media, all everything. You have no idea how strong we are, but that only is meaningful. When you get off your ass, you're not better than us. Don't expect somebody else to pull your weight for you. And you start doing the not necessarily glamorous, but that's not hard work at all. It's just a tiny bit of effort. 10 minutes a day, not even that most days. Our daily actions usually can be done in probably a minute. It's like retweet this, retweet that. So yeah, guys, we got this. I told you about one big lie. Here's another lie. And I'm going to probably cut it short here tonight, but another big lie that our opposition is now starting to seed the zeitgeist with is that canceling student loans will exacerbate inflation. Now, I looked closely at what canceling student loans actually would inject into the economy, and it turns out to be roughly $400 a month in money saved for those borrowers who were previously paying on their loans. And by the way, that's less than half. Like 64.3% of all borrowers were not even paying before the pandemic. So canceling the loans, it's not like they're going to have all this extra money they didn't have before. But anyways, even assuming that everybody was paying before the pandemic and now they'll have that extra money in their pocket to spend on other stuff, it's $400 a month. Now, with inflation running at 8.5%, for the average household of 2.5 people, the average monthly costs, just living, gas, food, rent, all that, increases by, on average, $500 per month. So canceling student loans is not going to exacerbate inflation. In fact, it won't even quite provide enough additional income for the average household to meet their monthly expenses. That is not going to cause inflation. Not. And by the way, this inflation we're seeing is largely supply driven. It's a gas shortage. It's a fertilizer shortage. It's a supply chain thing. There's not like all these people running around with way too much money looking to buy stuff. That's not what is causing this inflation. It is not demand pushed. It is supply. I would say supply pulled. The technical economic language, I am misspeaking there, but I don't care. It sounds right to me. So student loans will not benefit the rich, the wealthy. That's nonsense. And the lying liars like Adam Mooney who are telling those lies, and these shameful institutions like the corrupted Brookings Institute, which is peddling this lie, ought to be ashamed of themselves. And the people claiming inflation should similarly be absolutely and totally ashamed of themselves. But more than any of that, I would bet that not even 500 people are going to watch this live stream. Nobody is going to know this stuff unless you tell them. I swear to you, I can't find anybody else anywhere who is simply pointing to the truth like we are about how canceling student loans will not benefit the wealthy. There's a few people, but they're saying different things. Nobody is out there saying what I just said. Nobody is talking about inflation, saying the stuff that I just said that I'm aware of. I heard Elizabeth Warren said something about inflation, but the people will not know this truth unless you tell them. And if you don't tell them, then they're going to default to believing the shit you, pardon my French, but it is shit that we're seeing from Forbes magazine, even from, CNBC is not great lately, from all manner of for Yahoo Finance, all manner of oppositional financial media who, for whatever reason, have determined that it is incredibly important to fight student loan cancellation and fight the return of bankruptcy to student loans. So it's on you guys. We all of us here on this group are the pioneers. We are the ambassadors, apparently, of the very important truth that people need to know, and people will not know unless you tell them. In fact, if you look at like a string of, I think, 4 or 5 tweets that I did today, it's 5 articles, 5 headlines that nobody knows. And they will never know unless we tell them. The worst 10 states are all Southern red states. Most people with student loans are either Republican or independent. Sounds crazy, but it's true. Student loan cancellation will not cause inflation. Student loan cancellation will not benefit the wealthy. And there was one other one too. Oh, older people outnumber younger people with student loans, which I said at the top. Nobody knows that stuff. It hasn't been reported yet. Why? I don't know. It makes no sense to me. We've had great luck in publishing valid research. in the media in the past, at places like 60 Minutes and the Wall Street Journal and the Chronicle of Higher Education and Inside Higher Ed and Business Insider, many other places. And we still have success from time to time, but I'm telling you, the corporate media has their own agenda, and they don't want to publish any of those 5 truths that I just said. So if you go to our Medium channel, that is studentloanjustice.medium.com, which you can see right there, studentloanjustice.medium.com, you will see the first, out of the first 9 articles, 5 or 6 of them are unreported truths. And this data generally is sourced directly back to the Department of Education. It is the best data out there. It's not perfect, by the way, but it is certainly better than voluntary Federal Reserve survey data. That's nonsense. Nobody can dispute the validity of our research. And I stake my name and reputation and everything on that. The number one thing we have always done for the 17 years of our existence has been to be incredibly careful about the research we do. Because if we put out some nonsense like Adam Mooney just put out, if we put out a similar but different piece of nonsense like that, we would be crushed. We would be stepped on and exposed, and we would have zero credibility. We don't do that. We've never done that. We are very careful because this is a very important fight, and we don't need to bend the truth to win this battle. The facts are on our side. The Constitution is on our side. But guys, none of that matters if you don't spread the word. You got to be an ambassador, guys. You got to be. As Doug Grostefan in his typing class learned, and maybe you did as well if you have a certain age, now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. It's a typing phrase that people very popular back in the 60s and 70s, apparently, and 80s. So, but I'm serious, guys. It's true. This is a very big battle we're engaged in, guys. There's a lot riding on this. And I don't mean just for you personally. I mean for 44 million other people in the country. And not only that, guys, it's not just 45 million other people. We're talking hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps, but even more than that. If they can do to other loans what they did to student loans, that is remove bankruptcy, remove statute of limitations, remove all kinds of other very important consumer protections, but those first 2 are the biggest ones. If they can do to other loans what they did to student loans, they could turn this entire nation into a slave state. They could. And people out there would really like to do that. John Adams once said hundreds of years ago, there are 2 ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword. The other is by debt. And those words are true, and they are very true today. And this, the fight for student loan justice, is the front line in that battle. So finally, I just want to tell you guys a story. There's a woman in our group, Martha. I'm not going to say her last name, but her name's Martha. Originally from Connecticut. I think she lives in New Jersey now. Martha was diagnosed with ALS, which I believe is Lou Gehrig's disease, in 2017. She has student loan problems just like we do. The difference is that Martha has gone from being, physically capable, normal physical abilities, to today she cannot walk. She's confined to a wheelchair. She cannot talk. She cannot speak. Nonetheless, what Martha can do is type and read, and her mind works great. So Martha has been, and if you've been helping us fight, you've been seeing her on Twitter, you've been seeing her around. Martha has been doing all of our daily actions every day for the past, few months for sure, since probably 6 months since I got to meet her and know her. So hopefully I don't have to tell you what a difficult and challenging disease ALS is. It's not pretty. Google it. But the fact that this woman, Martha, has somehow found the determination to, despite her massive difficulties, fight this battle, is that not encouragement and inspiration to you to at least do our daily actions? I would hope that it is. And Martha, if you're watching, I salute you. I mean, she is one of the heroes of this movement. I just want to say that. So, I should really write a paper about that or something, article. And I think I will actually. But thank you, Martha. And to everybody out there who's been helping, and you know who you are. Ed, obviously our Supreme co-leader, Doug, Gordon, everybody on the chat that I see here tonight, Vanjie for sure, Dwayne, obviously, and Terry. I salute you, and you know I do. We are the true pioneers. I mean, we've been doing this since it wasn't even popular. Nobody even mentioned student loans 5 years ago, hardly, and we were doing it. And so you know I salute you. Now, to everybody else who thinks they can sit there and wait and watch and worry and cheerlead, eat popcorn, and oh yeah, you go, Ed. And hey, can you get me a beer while you're at it? Can you grab me a piece of pizza out of the fridge while you're at it? No, that doesn't wash. These are your loans. This is your problem. And if you're not helping us, please leave the group. I'm sick of people sitting around doing nothing. Oh, I'm so confused. I don't know. Oh, I don't know what to do. What's going on? No, that's bullshit. We have told you exactly what you need to do. And, people can think for themselves as well. Don't be limited to our daily actions. That's like bubblegum. It's like nothing. You can do a lot more than that. We have very clever people on this group, I happen to know. Everybody here has at least been to college. We're maybe a little bit smarter than the average bear, I would think. No. You know what to do, and you have no excuse for not doing it. So, and like Gordon called 59 lawmakers today. Good for you, Gordon. Gordon's getting it done. Gordon found a way to fight Rush Limbaugh to a draw on air a few years ago. So you want this problem solved? Look in the mirror. What are you going to do? When are you going to finally own this problem and get off your ass and quit making excuses, and quit reading Forbes magazine, quit allowing yourself to be distracted? When are you going to own this problem and fight this battle? Fight or flight. Don't pick flight. If you're in this group, you at least wanted to pick fight at some point. Pick fight. Jump in. The water's fine. The bad guys scurry like cockroaches when the lights are turned on everywhere we go. We will win this battle, but we will only win this battle when you make it happen. You have no idea how important you are. Don't forget that. You can't unhear that. And we are the pioneers. You can't unhear that either. We have to fight a little above our weight because it's just the way that goes. You can't unhear that. So, all right, guys. Let's get it done, guys. Our bill is make or break right now, this week, last 2 weeks. Hopefully I'll have some very good news for you in the next week or so, I hope. But this doesn't happen in a vacuum. It does not. It starts with you. It starts with you, and it always has. So I'll be back on Wednesday. Ed will be back tomorrow. Ed's actually a way nicer guy than I am, so you definitely want to check him out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll be back on Wednesday. Big things happening, guys. I've never been more optimistic than I am right now at this very moment. So take it to heart. Take my words to heart. Don't take it the wrong way. Don't take it personal. When you're doing the hard work, you'll feel exactly the same way that I do. It feels good to fight. It feels good to fight. And I'm just baffled that more people aren't doing it because it's fun. And we're spreading the truth. And the Constitution is on our side. The founders are on our side. Morality, I think, is on our side. We're fighting the good fight, ladies and gentlemen. So just don't ever forget that. And I will see you on Wednesday. Have a great couple days. Good luck in doing a month worth of our daily actions, if not more. Good luck in doing all kinds of other things that you can come up with on your own, maybe even with your state chapter group. And you can find those state chapters from our website. Godspeed. God bless everybody.